the pair of them have this tick, we'll call it, where they just start freaking out every now and then.
Yeah, like the girlfriend behaved like a dog because she was really scratching her knee, and then she starts to make dog noises, and then what was it? Her mum.
Is that the one where he pulls aliens out of her vagina?
No. That's later. That does happen, Ben. They're in bed, and he keeps like pulling them out.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. So you thought they were aliens?
Well,
I don't know how else to immediately describe them.
I thought they were. I thought they were giant, enlarged, like to scale.
Hi, and welcome. Hi, and welcome to Gateway Cinema, Converting a Nolan Fanboy, where we take our friend Ben, who's the guy in red here, and we show him films that are not Christopher Nolan films in the hopes that he likes them, because he loves Christopher Nolan. Today, I believe none of us had seen any of these films. I think it's mine and Ben's only time where we haven't seen the Nolan film, at least. And Haroon maybe hadn't seen another one. He hasn't seen Insomnia yet, where we've seen that. Anyway, doesn't matter, because we're doing Following and Eraserhead, two debut films from now legendary American and English-American filmmakers, both on a minuscule budget, both in black and white. Let's just jump right into it, Philip DeFranco style, and ask, which one did you both prefer out of the two movies?
I preferred
Eraserhead.
Oh, controversial one. I preferred Eraserhead, personally. That's the only question that we asked before, so I guess we're getting straight into the Christopher Nolan 1998 film Following, about funnily enough, a writer living in London, from London, who follows people around and steals women's underwear. So, does that say anything about Christopher Nolan, would we say?
I think what a lot of that movie to me just felt like how I would probably write a film. Like, you just pick some guys you used to know. These were two guys he used to know. He's in London.
I think they're both him.
You think they're both him?
I've got that in my notes. I think there's two Nolan insert characters in this film, and it's both the main guys to a different degree. It was just the way that it was the way that Cobb was like explaining things. I was just like, this it's just like wanky dialogue. You know what I mean? I'm just like, I bet Christopher Nolan talks like this. Anyway, we'll get into that. Ben, what did you think of Following?
I was incredibly impressed. So I didn't know, but I didn't really know what to expect when it came to this film, because as you know, I like pretty much all Nolan's films with the exception of just two. And I thought, well, I wasn't a huge fan of Memento at all. Would Following suffer from the same gripes that I had with Memento? But actually, I was really, really impressed with this, and I think it might even be up there with like the top half of Nolan's filmography. I'm not entirely sure. I'll need to review the other ones. I really, really liked it, and I thought for a first film, incredibly impressive. And I also thought I think the writing was on the wall when it came to quite a lot of what Nolan liked to do in his later films, like the way he played the time, this recurring theme that he has.
What does that mean? What does it mean to have the writing on the wall? Because I've always heard that phrase, and I've never understood what it means to have the writings on the wall.
As in, it's a sign of what's to come in the future.
It's just, yeah.
Oh, so foreshadowing.
I guess.
Well, I don't know.
I
Not
guess.
really,
You
because
just
that's
said
a
it's a sign,
literary
Like,
technique.
a sign as to what's to come of the future, and then I said
Yeah, but
foreshadowing.
foreshadowing is in a
How you're
fictional.
saying no?
Well, that's because that's a storytelling device, and he's talking about real life.
Oh, I see. So if you say like the writings on the wall, oh, I would say Ben, the writings on the wall for you to become less of a Nolan fanboy. But that would be
if
wrong.
But it's
if
untrue.
there's a
Yeah,
sign of it, but
yeah,
if anything, I think I've become more of a Nolan fanboy after this series.
yeah. The writing is on the wall that Ben will not change his mind.
well,
um,
Oh
we'll see when
Christ!
it comes to Razorhead.
I
We will
believe in you,
see.
yeah.
Ben. I actually think there is a chance that you might be able to.
Oh, that's actually interesting.
Sorry, what did you say? What was that?
I said
You
we'll see when
said
it comes to
we'll
Razorhead.
see. Oh,
Sorry, this delay
yeah.
is
Okay.
fucked.
Because he previously, yeah, there's a bit of a delay. I'll try to cut it all
uh,
out in editing. Uh, yeah, I'd probably say I agree with you, Ben. Apart from it being in his top half of his filmography, but I would say it's a very strong debut, and I will say that last week, or no, it was actually a couple of weeks ago, in the Lahane episode, you said it was quite film student-y. One aspect of that film, the ending, you said was quite film student-y. I did get that vibe for this film,
I,
but at the
I
same time,
just want to confirm. I think the part you're referring to is the end where
yeah,
Hubert and the cop having the face off. I said it felt like a
yeah.
sort of drama class, but it was just that one scene.
Oh,
I
okay, I see
didn't
what you
think
mean.
the
Yeah, yeah,
rest. I
yeah.
didn't think
You
the
did
rest of
say
it
drama
felt
class. You're
like film schooly or drama classy.
Yeah. Well, for this one, I sort of felt it. I don't want to call it pretentious, and I don't want to call it wanky, but it was sort of pretentious and wanky. Just like just the dialogue. It's very written and not natural. But why I said it like that. But no, that's probably my only main criticism, and I think it handled it very well. I was very impressed. Um, I was very sucked in and sucked off by the story, and fucking he smashed it. Let's give him his flowers. Good 29-year-old Christopher Nolan made a good film.
Yeah, no, I thought it was thoroughly impressive, and
Also,
the fact that
seeing the
he was
budget
already
was
playing
six
with narrative.
thousand is like crazy.
Yeah, 6,000. That's really not
Yeah,
very much. I think there was only who worked on this film. I think it was just the actors Nolan and Emma Thomas as the producer.
yeah.
I
You
think it
could
was
tell the
just
credits were like really dragging, trying to like credit people
yeah,
and long out, trying to make it a couple minutes. There was just like a list of like special thanks, and you could just some of the
Yeah.
names were like something Nolan. Like it was clearly just people gave a fiver or something, or said said like good luck or something, so they got a credit.
no, but really, really impressive. And yeah, the fact that he did this having not gone to film school. I mean, so the version I got, there were a few interviews with Nolan. I only watched one of them. I think he said that he dabbled with making short films. I think when he was at university, which, funnily enough, he was able to raise the money for
Dabble.
by he dabbled in short films, and I think he was able to raise the money for that to buy the 16 millimeter film by I think it was by hosting like film nights when he was at UCL studying English, and yeah, they'd use the proceeds like for the I think Bloomsbury Theatre uh, to invest in that, and yeah, then he ended up working in I don't know exactly what it was. I think he did video editing I think for either corporations or a particular corporation, so obviously picked up the various filmmaking skills and yeah, applied it to this. Yeah, but were you both really impressed by
um,
the fact that as early on as this, he was playing with narrative the way that we now know is just normal with Christopher Nolan? Like the fact that he just
do you know
splices
what? I
between
did have a
back and
note
forth, back
about
and forth.
this. It barely even registered to me because I'm just so used to the language of Nolan's films.
Yeah.
It just felt so normal that about halfway through I was like, oh yeah, they're cutting between three different timelines here.
Mm.
I was just like, oh yeah, but yeah, I mean, I guess I'm impressed.
Clearly,
It's
personally,
his
what I
thing.
think happened was when he released this and he was 29, and he had played with a bit of narrative, he probably thought he was the smartest guy to play with some narrative and then get a lot of praise for that. So that's probably just something that stuck with him for his entirety of his film career.
Do you
Someone turned around to him and said, please, why don't you just tell a story how stories should be told from beginning, middle to end? That would be nice. Instead of
He has done
probably
that,
the whole world
he did that
cheering
in
him
The
on.
Dark Knight.
He's done it in like 3 films out of his 12. He does not do it very often.
Dark Knight, Insomnia,
literally...
Dark Knight Rises. Is that it?
That's it. It's got to be
Yeah.
it. Unless you, I mean, Interstellar is sort of start to finish, but it's like it goes back on itself. Do you know what I mean?
Time dilation.
Yeah. But it is following what's his name from start to finish technically. But yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't think it counts. Haroon, you haven't said much about this film. Would you like to give some?
I don't give a fuck about this film.
You didn't like it?
No, I don't care about it. It means so little to me. I couldn't like really stress that anymore. It would mean a lot to me if somebody my age, if we were 29, had made this, and I would be like, wow, that was a good first movie, really good. But it feels like I really did just go to film school and I watched some student film, and it was quite a good student film. Quite a good student film.
Yeah, it's very compelling. I think he did do a good little job with it. But
it's a good student film.
It's better than you are giving it credit for as well. I think there's stuff going on and ideas.
I think they tried to grip me in the first 10 minutes of this guy who's just likes to follow people, likes to look into people's lives, and then that kind of all gets thrown out the window rather quickly. Well, I guess not. I guess his friend actually does do that to people, and he realizes that's not really what you want to do. Blah blah blah. I don't know. I'm just really. I think because I watched Eraserhead first, and then I watched this after, immediately after, it's just so deflating. Maybe reality is just boring.
Yeah. But I will say I was doing some research. It was literally just before this podcast. I just watched a little interview with him where he said that when he was writing it, well, obviously, one, he was a writer living in London, so that's where that aspect comes from it. And 2, he was burgled, so his house was broken into and he was robbed.
Yes.
And so he gave the quote, the front door was never keeping anybody out. What was keeping people out was the respect that we have for others' individuality and privacy. And I was like, damn, I can see why that's the good little bones for an idea. And yeah, I mean, respect, man.
I don't know. It seems like a very first worldy theme.
Okay. Is that invalid?
No.
There you go. So shut the fuck up about Christopher Nolan before I kill you.
I don't know. I just thought. I think I did literally watch Eraserhead in the dark, a beer and a half in, and I sat there quietly and absorbed the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then I watched this after, and I was just like, "Why the fuck am I even looking at this?
Film. Yeah.
What is the purpose of me even watching this after I watched that?" So yeah, that's where I'm coming from, dear listeners.
So I don't actually want to say too much about the film's ending because I'm quite surprised that I didn't actually come across any spoilers. Because all I heard was, "Oh, this writer follows the thief, and he doesn't like what ends up happening." And that's pretty much all I knew about it. I didn't know anything else about the individual plot points. And I think we should actually avoid doing that because I was actually really impressed by the different twists and turns that came in the film. Like I was thinking, oh, I didn't see those particular things coming. I was, yeah. Like I think the way they delivered various pieces of information, I really liked it, and I thought for him to do this on his debut film, I thought was actually really, really impressive. And when I said that I think this film is in the top half of his filmography, I don't necessarily think it's the best. I don't necessarily think by quality of film it's in the top half. But in terms of how impressed I am with it, I think the fact this was his debut, I'd say fair play because I was actually really drawn into the story of this. And I mean, how long is it? It's not much more than an hour,
minutes.
I think.
Yeah,
70.
hour
Yeah,
and 10.
and I was thoroughly entertained. Didn't think it was too short. Didn't think it was too long. Great. 70-minute job.
I'm
Bang.
really shocked what you said about the ending, because I found it very sort of lackluster in like it was one of the ones where it could have been a bit more, and if you really stop and think about it, and what's his name's Cobb's plan the whole time, not to go into it if you don't want to spoil it, but like if you really stop and think about it, it will all fall apart. So I'm really trying not to like nitpick it. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't like nitpicking as like criticism, because you know it pretty much can happen with any film. If you really try overanalyze every character's decision, you can be like, well, that's stupid. Like, obviously you're allowed to write stupid characters, but I just think, you know, with a tiny bit of scrutiny it might fall apart. Like, what the fuck was that old lady thing really about? Do you know what I mean?
We can talk about that off air. Like I said, I don't really.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. That's because
yeah.
I think if you know, you know. It just sort of is like a bit of a, you know, slapdash, you know, rounding of the themes and whatnot. But yeah, no, I do agree that it is very impressive, and I won't be shitting on this movie too much.
I think something else I like about it is that I think a lot of the things that you see in Nolan's later films do seem to come up in this one. So obviously you've got the narrative play with it, but
you got
and I
Cobb.
won't go into this too much because I think we want to have a big discussion at the end of this series to ask like what is like a common theme in all of Nolan's films. But one theme that I think is quite common in his films is he seems to warn against the danger, like dissatisfaction of discovering knowledge. And I think it's interesting that this film literally starts off with a writer who is following people because he wants to understand why people behave in a particular way. And again, without going spoilers, he ends up regretting it because, well, like it doesn't end up being for his own good. And I love the fact that, like I said before, like the writing is on the wall for a lot of what Nolan will do later on in his film career. And I think another thing, how well or poorly written did you think the female character was?
I mean,
Really distracted.
I guess, yeah, I guess I didn't even think about it that much. She's sort of just, yeah, a typical Nolan character, it must be said.
Well, I
you know
thought
what,
I didn't think she was poorly written per se, but she was quite cold. And I am trying to think now. Like the all women that Nolan writes, are they all this cold? And I don't think they are, but they're not.
They kind
They're
of
not
are,
especially
man.
warm characters.
They're sort of all antagonistic forces. I don't want to say all, but you know, what's her name from Inception? Mal.
Oh, Jesus, Maul!
Yeah, her. She's antagonistic. Trinity from the Matrix.
You
from
mentioned
Memento.
Inception. I only realised just before we hopped onto this call, Cobb. Yeah, a tribute to Cobb from Following.
Does he fucking suck
cool.
at writing names? Whenever I'm writing anything, I can't write names for shit, and I think Nolan has the same problem, because the characters in this are called the young man, blonde woman. No, sorry, the blonde and Cobb, and he reused Cobb 10 years later.
I Cobb
then we've got the protagonist. Is it?
You got a reference.
Reusing Cobb.
Yeah. I really like the fact that you referenced a thief in his first film.
Yeah, I guess.
Which was a post film. I think that's actually really cool. Maybe some people would think it's self-aggrandizing. I think it's cool though.
Yeah, you know, you gotta stick to your roots.
So, anything else to say, Haroon? I'm quite sad by how quiet you are.
Very little.
Really,
really very little, to be honest. I don't want to like take a shit on the movie. I think it really is just the juxtaposition of how I watch things and how I enjoy things, and maybe what I like about movies. But yeah,
do you think this movie was good looking? Because I think this is one of his better looking movies.
It looks
I think
nice.
Due to the lack of color, because he's a colorblind.
Yeah. Because I think he's good at shooting. I think on a lower budget, when he's not advertising to the masses, he seemed to have some.
I would like to see him get back to some gritty.
Yeah, exactly. When he's shooting, nicer.
I never thought I'd hear the word cunt in a Christopher Nolan movie.
It was nice to hear the word
There was
cunt,
a lot
I
of
must
swearing
say
in
that.
this.
And the F slur as well, which I
Yeah,
contemplated
that's good.
saying on this podcast, but I'm not going to do it.
Let's probably not do that. But obviously,
Um,
Ben's stance on profanity is God's best.
You know, I was actually looking through the previous podcast, and I definitely have uttered profanities.
No.
I'm telling.
It's happened. I'm afraid so.
I'm gonna tell your mum.
Another funny note I have is there was a really funny line reading from like the gangster character where he goes, I'm going to try to do the voice, but obviously I watched this yesterday and I don't remember it fully and I haven't refreshed my memory. But it's something like this: "Somebody get me a fucking tea towel or something." Oh, that was good. I'm going to try and put that in. So funny, man. What was that? What was that voice? It was like halfway between. I don't know, like fucking Ben Kingsley and Sexy Beast and the sad. Is that like a sad dog in Peanuts or something? So, someone's got a funny little sad little voice like that. No. God, this is gonna annoy me. Mr. Peabody and Sherman. That one of them.
It reminded me of. Let's see if I can find it. I think it was a character in Layer Cake.
I haven't seen Layer Cake, but that's
Oh,
very
it's not.
similar vibe.
It's really good.
No.
It's good. It's good. If you like English tough guy shit, then yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's not my thing, but I'm sure I like it. I like Matthew Vaughn.
Daniel Craig's really good
vaguely.
in it as well.
Yeah, I saw him doing some real acting recently.
Weird?
Yeah.
Worth watching?
Yeah, I liked it. Do you like Luca Guadagnino?
Pretty mixed. I really like Challengers.
You like Bones
Didn't
and All?
really. Oh yeah, of course. I love Bones and All.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
mixed
give it a
song.
watch.
Call Me by Your Name. What else? I think those might be the only three of his I've
Suspiria.
seen. I still haven't seen the remake, but I do want to.
It's good.
It's
I'd recommend
2.5 hours long though.
Yeah, that is a bit fucked. But yeah, Queer's good. Anyway, this isn't a queer review. So don't know, have any more thoughts on
Anything
Following? I
else
think
you
that's
can
all
say?
my notes.
Yeah, I mean, I've not got too much to say because I don't want to get into plot spoilers. But yeah, what I will say
Just
is
do
that
it.
if you
Just do it.
like, nah. But like, I
Why?
think I gained a lot from this film by not having it spoiled for me. I definitely appreciated it a lot more by not having it spoiled.
Yeah, I don't think we
surely
need
we
to
can just
talk
say
about
skip
it.
to where there's no more spoilers. We have.
Yeah, but what do we have to say about the plot? I've got nothing to say about the plot.
Pretty fucking thin
It was
plot.
fine. It was fine. Good hook.
I don't know. I'm really not bored by it for some reason. But I think we are. Explain my reasoning. Sorry, Ben. Go on. Continue. You about to say something?
It's all right. I was just going to say. I mean, there's not too much for me to explain beyond. I just really liked the direction it went in. Didn't expect a lot of it, and yeah, there definitely were, a couple of moments where I thought, "Oh, damn! I didn't expect that to happen." And I like when it does that. I like it when a film surprises me.
Is that why you like The Prestige most out of all the Nolan movies?
I think that is why. I think that is one reason why I have a big soft spot for The Prestige, because even though I now know the ending, I just remember watching it for the first time, like just eyes glued to the screen, like jaw on the floor, just astounded by like the ending. So, and the fact that they just hinted the entire time, I think just made it even better. So yeah, I'd actually like to see Nolan do more sort of mystery films. I think he's definitely got a good knack for it.
Yeah, I'd like him to lean away from the sci-fi and action because, yeah, I think he actually is better when he doesn't do that. Especially action. Sci-fi, he can keep doing sci-fi, but I'd rather it be like mystery. I take that back though, because Tenet is awesome. Tenet is genuinely some of the best action
And the
I've ever
Batman
seen.
films and Inception.
Nah,
I think,
the action's bad though. The action is bad in the Batman films.
oh, do you like the fight scenes, like the choreography?
Yeah. I
It's not
found that,
amazing.
not to
But
get
I-
back to
but
the
I
Dark
like
Knight
them all as
Rises, but
action
I didn't find
films.
any of that moving. I like them more as ideas films, and I like Batman Begins as I like the narrative device, and I don't know, the training and the character arc. But anyway, I've got another point about this film. Did anyone else think the main character looked like Lin-Manuel Miranda?
I do not know who that is.
Oh my god.
I don't know who that is
Matt,
either.
Matt, when you're editing this, put in a clip of him rapping on the subway. He wrote Hamilton, and he wrote the Moana songs, and he is a little Puerto Rican little boy who likes to rap, and he's really cringy. But I think he's Puerto Rican.
I don't like him.
I don't like him either.
Okay.
The rap is so funny on the subway.
I tried to watch Hamilton once. I actually
It's lame.
gave it a go. I really gave it a go. It is really fucking difficult to watch that.
It's cringy.
I found it was
also
really
low-key
in the right
immoral.
environment, but I couldn't get into it. Like I think
What?
the issue I have is that I don't like musicals, and it's a musical. That's pretty much the end of it. I'm just not a huge fan. I
It's a
don't
rap
mind it when you have
musical, and
musicals
that's something you
splicing
can't-
it up with actual.
You take something cool and
like
you make
acting.
it cringy. Like what
Yeah,
the
don't do
fuck?
that. Don't make a good art form
And
quite cringy.
and don't make black people rap from the perspective of white slave owners. Maybe Lin-Manuel Miranda don't do that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
very fucking crazy.
Oh, what do you think of that? Because I remember when it came out.
What do you
it
think
was-
of that?
No, because I think there are. I think Barack Obama, for example, was a big fan of the play. So I think a lot of
Barack
people.
Obama bombed millions of children in the Middle East over 8 years, so
I'm gonna have some licorice now.
I'll cut that
And
out.
you keep talking though. This will be good.
I don't know.
Uh,
I just think, I think it's interesting that they decided to make it not race blind per se, but well, I guess it was in a way, in the sense that they didn't try to keep it to historical norms. I just thought, yeah, it doesn't matter if
Historically, we
someone-
were all race blind, especially in America.
Okay, obviously not. But the point being that it's not just meant to be a historical musical. It's meant to be.
Yes, it
Oh, it's
is.
meant to be a music. Okay,
No, it's meant to be a
in the sense
historical
that you have-
musical.
It's meant to be historical in the sense you have historical figures, but I like the fact they played around with certain aspects of it. Like, do you remember Bridgerton? I've not actually seen.
I was just
Bridgerton,
about to
but-
say that. That's fucking terrible. I can't believe that exists and people like it. It's crazy.
I just googled
I've only
was
seen-
Alexander Hamilton a slave owner, and the first article that pops up was Alexander Hamilton's complicated relationship with slavery.
It's so fucked. It is crazy that exists.
It's a bit of an odd thing to do. It really is strange. It's like making a all-women Harvey Weinstein musical. You know? Don't do that.
I think we should move on because I'm worried about what Ben might say next.
I wonder what Ben might make the thumbnail.
Oh my god.
Okay.
No, I mean,
Uh,
okay, hang on. Let me try and sympathize with this. I think, what are you trying to say? You're trying to say that it's okay that they play around with race in the historical telling of government people in 1800s America.
well, not just
1600s
America,
probably.
but I think what I liked
17?
about
I don't know.
Bridgerton was the
Earlier
fact
than
that
19.
you had this TV show set in the 1800s, and you don't need to be an expert in history to know that there wouldn't have been many people, there wouldn't have been many non-white people in those kinds of positions, like the positions of the nobility. And I think what I thought was pretty cool about Bridgerton, and again, I didn't actually watch it, but was the fact that you had these non-white actors cast in those roles, and nobody mentioned it. It was just normal. And I think I've heard that towards the end of the season,
Yeah,
they
but
do start
Bridgerton
to
isn't
bring in a
about-
reason. They say things like, "Oh yeah, turns out there was a queen from Africa who married this particular member of nobility from England, and that's why." So they do end up giving some exposition for it. But I thought it was interesting that when they did it, they cast them, but it was completely normal. And I think it's interesting when they do that, because this actually came up recently when when you've been telling me about stuff that Elon Musk's been saying about video games and complaining about how you've got people who are non-white in the video games. But I think what's interesting about what Bridgerton did was the fact that they cast non-white people in the role, but they weren't preachy about it. It's like they just did it, and it just wasn't mentioned. And I thought it was actually quite nice that that's how it worked out. I thought with Hamilton, I think it was quite nice that they did it as well. Like, yeah, you had a black guy playing Jefferson, but no,
I don't know.
I
have
think the problem.
I'm sure there were some people who wasn't.
They don't need to say
the problem...
they made the Queen black for me to think, well, that's a bit fucking ridiculous, isn't it? They were in Kenya at the time enslaving and creating the East India Trading Company in that exact history, in that exact period of time. They created the East India Trading Company.
Yeah, but the point being was that in this particular TV show, people who weren't white were still able to be in the nobility. And again, like, that's not an historically accurate TV show. But I think it's based that when they
and predicated.
But Bridgerton isn't about. But Bridgerton isn't about that, to my understanding. Whereas Hamilton is about the formation of the U.S. government.
Bridgerton,
most of whom were slave owners and made slavery legal.
And Hamilton is far more
Amendment. Oh no, that was
massively direct. Absolutely. Bridgerton less so. I bully my girlfriend a lot about Bridgerton, and I think what she says is just don't think about it. I enjoy this.
It's fine. I don't give a fuck about that. I don't give a shit about Bridgerton.
It doesn't matter.
It's a completely different thing. I don't care too much about Hamilton. I just think that's really weird to write a rap musical starring black people to play a bunch of racist white people, and it to not be about that. It to be like, oh, isn't it cool how America was formed? Like,
no, I think,
Lynn,
I think
what are you doing, man?
I think when you hear that premise, you think, like, how can that work? But I think what is interesting is that it somehow does work, and it seems to be really popular with
None of us liked it.
We all turned it off.
We all hated Hamilton.
No, we didn't. But it seems to be really popular with people, not just in the US,
but people,
like some of my work colleagues love Hamilton. I don't.
Who? Are they white and are they liberals?
Oh my god, is it the one I met? We can cut all this out. All right, and resume. So
okay.
don't really like
I think we may as well just move on to Eraserhead at this point.
Should we move on? I've got nothing else about following.
Yeah, we clearly had so little to say about following that we'd start talking about Let's talk about Bridgerton and Hamilton and how that's a really weird thing of society to do and propagate. Following is not a very good film. It's not a very good film. It's the fact that he was 29, very good.
Better than Primer.
Better than Primer.
Better than Primer.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry to that one guy who commented on our video. That one guy.
But it's better. But yeah, no, it's a good student film. I like the black and white. I think it's shot nicely. I think John Nolan likes writing plots, and
he didn't write this.
Did
he?
I think this was just Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, you can basically never watch this movie.
So John Nolan is Uncle Nolan, and he's in it. Anyone catch that? The police interviewer is John Nolan, their uncle, and he's on the board of executives on Wayne Industries, or whatever the fuck.
And he plays the blind guy at the end of Dunkirk,
who's
giving out supplies.
Yes. And he's in... he was in something random. I can't remember. I was looking at his IMDb page. He's in something recent. Oh, Dune Prophecy. Dune Prophecy. I don't know why. Yeah.
I've only seen the first episode of that. And I'm not going to continue.
I'm not going to bother watching that. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Are we moving on to Eraserhead? So I guess I'll do a little introduction to Eraserhead. This was from 1977, David Lynch's directorial debut, and I think it took him 5 years to make this, and he made it while at university. I think he made it at university, AFI. The Academy of something, American Film Industry.
I think you mean the American Film Institute, bro.
That's not. Sorry, mate. I think I mean the American Film Institute. Is that a university? I don't quite know. But,
I think so. I think he's at the Pennsylvania University, mate. I can't quite tell, mate.
Okay, that's enough of that. I thought that this was good and I love
It's
this. It
fan-fucking-tastic.
is incredibly good and just what I kind of need to watch every now and then. I think there's like Nolan very much is a sober person.
Do you know what though? I think David Lynch is too. I think that's just his
I
mind.
would say that that maybe isn't true.
I think his mind is just like that. Genuinely.
Maybe.
I'm gonna do some research to see if David Lynch does drugs.
I would be astonished if he never does drugs.
Find out. He does not use drugs and never did, apart from trying marijuana a few times in his youth. He prefers to access creativity through his practice of transcendental meditation. And there we have it.
I'm shocked.
I didn't know that as well.
So I'll
I
say
thought
then,
he'd love an
I
acid
think
trip.
Nolan is a normie and David
Yeah.
Lynch is not a normie.
He's not a normal fella. I don't think this guy's particularly normal, guys.
Astonishing. It really is astonishing. 2 directorial debuts,
Yeah,
and they
couldn't be
could
further
not be
apart.
further apart.
I bet Nolan would love this though, because I think he's just about it. I think he just loves film.
I think the impression I get with Nolan is that I don't think he's got much of a filter when it comes to which films he likes, because
because recently we've
send me
learned that his favorite of the year is Gladiator 2.
that
and he
was
also
shocking.
likes-
That was
He loves
incredibly
Talladega
shocking.
Nights, The Ballad of Ricky Bobby, starring Will Ferrell.
I
Which is a film I haven't
even
seen.
heard of that before.
It's like a NASCAR comedy starring Will Ferrell. I don't know anything about it beyond that, but it's the last thing I'd expect Christopher Nolan to shout out in an interview about what his favorite films are.
But he seems to like all sorts. Like, it's not as if he just likes blockbusters, because I think he spoke very highly of Phantom Thread, Past Lives, and then he also really likes Tokyo Drift. And
Yeah.
I actually am just thinking, is there a single film that he doesn't like that I'm aware of? Because I've never actually heard him say on the record that he doesn't like a particular film. But then the impression I get is that I don't think film directors actually are very open about which films they dislike, except for maybe Tarantino.
I've just done some chat GPTing, and yes, he loves David Lynch. He apparently described Eraserhead as pure cinema, commending its ability to create a unique, immersive world that feels both alien and deeply personal. Anyway, that's
let's talk about Eraserhead. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Let
me get my notes up.
This is a nightmare of a movie from start to finish. And again, I think after having literally just watched it, it's going to take a while for things to marinate nicely into my brain about what I've just consumed. And I like that a lot more in terms of the concentration of value that movies can provide, contrasting from following, where it's in one ear and out the other, and it simply didn't matter that you watched it. Whereby Eraserhead is going to stay with you whether you like it or not, probably for the better. Yeah, I think removing yourself temporarily from any semblance of something you know is a good thing in a world so full of stimulus.
Yeah. I'd love to hear what Ben thinks about this movie, to be fair. I'm trying to formulate my thoughts at the moment.
I know, why even ask? Even the audience
I think
following this.
He's hinted at liking it, though. He said he hates David Lynch a lot in the past, and he said earlier in this episode that he... I can't remember what he said. But Ben, I'm going to guess that you'd like this more than you thought.
Yeah, that's definitely fair to say. So I should caveat by saying what my relationship is like with David Lynch's films. The first film of his that I watched was Blue Velvet, and I wouldn't say I loved it, but I remember thinking, yeah, quite liked it. It's a bit quirky, but at the end of the day, there was a coherent story. There were characters. Maybe they didn't always behave in a linear way, but yeah, I liked it. There was something quite nice about that film, The Mood, and I haven't seen it since then, but I definitely want to rewatch it. And then I saw Mulholland Drive. Yeah, like I've
For
heard it's the
him.
most normal of his films. I think I've actually heard that from you, and I think a
I've
few
only seen
others.
3. But
So you've
yeah, I mean,
seen Blue Velvet,
Mulholland
Eraserhead,
Drive and this,
and
yeah.
oh,
Same as you
okay,
then.
same as me then. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I watched Mulholland Drive, and I just absolutely hated that film. I just thought it felt like there was no payoff, except for that scene except for that scene in the diner when they go around the corner. Won't say any more than that. But that's actually relevant to what I saw in this film. Um, so yeah, anyway, started this film, and I want to give a massive shout out first of all to the Criterion Collection because I knew that they restored film footage and they restored it to a good quality. I didn't know they restored it to that high level of quality. I was watching it and I thought this is this just looks amazing. Like this actually
It's
looks like it could have been
beautiful.
shot just a few years ago. Like it actually looks stunning. I can't believe just how crisp the resolution is. And the fact that this was made in
Hmm.
1977, they were able to restore it to that degree. Honestly, if you want to watch this film, buy the Eraserhead edition. Yes, it's like 25 quid when it's not on sale, but honestly, definitely worth it.
I got it
And
from
it's got
CEX for
like a nice
18.
yeah, and it's got like a nice little booklet
Um,
where I think the interviews with David Lynch and he talks about
did you read
um
that?
I read the first like 4 or 5 pages, but it was getting late and I had work today, so I had to stop.
I
But
got about halfway
when I had the
through. It's
time,
quite a thick one.
it is
I think it's the
thick, yeah.
thickest one I have, yeah.
Good?
Uh, yeah, it's interesting. He doesn't answer any questions about it, though, really. Like, not. He talks about the production. It's definitely an interesting insight into the production, but, he's not going to help you figure out the movie because he
Being on
doesn't like
set for that
doing
one
that.
would be fucking crazy. Could you imagine being like a floor runner, like a 16-year-old spotty floor
Well,
runner on
they didn't have that. So it was basically a bunch of friends helping each other out. He made it over 5 years. So that the main actor had that haircut for 5 years.
That's funny.
Similar with with Following, he filmed it every Saturday for I think 6 months. They said maybe 4 months. Can't remember. But this one was like they there was apparently like a stable or something on the AFI site, or maybe it was the university site. I can't remember. I can't fucking remember. But he just like took a hold of that room and used it as sets and editing and just stayed like basically lived there for 5 years. Um, and yeah, it was only a handful of people working on it.
What was that?
What was
My
that?
Phantom Menace poster just fell down.
Oh,
GTA's
Phantom in
back.
the room.
ugh, I hate that you have a Terrifier poster.
They were both free. Just to give context to all the viewers out there, my friend works at a thing and said he's offered me 2 posters. One of them was Star Wars: The Phantom Menace, and the other one was Terrifier 3. And I said yes to both of them, as you would.
Yeah, you would have to say yes to both of those, and you would have to put them both next to
Innit?
one another. Yeah.
Of course.
Ben, what do you
Neither
think?
of them I
of
particularly
Eraserhead?
like.
But with
Ben, give me your take on what you thought Eraserhead was about.
okay, so just going back to what I thought of Eraserhead. I was really patient with this film. Okay, so I know that you both said that I lack patience with films, and something that I've tried to do. Well, I say tried to do recently. I literally started doing this with Eraserhead, and it's the first time I've done this since starting the podcast. I chose not to write down any notes during my viewing of it, even though when I tried to write notes, I tried to write notes while still looking at the screen. This time I just thought, right, just go for it, fully immerse yourself into it, lights off,
Well
just
done.
watch Eraserhead. And to be fair, I was actually quite drawn into it for I'd say at least the first third, given that it's an hour and a half, and I'd say that probably up until about the hour mark, I was actually interested in what was happening. And even though the stuff you see on the screen is sometimes like just horrifically ugly, like that
Mm.
baby they had in the room. Like that was just so grotesque. Like it just on so many levels. Oh yeah, it's just horrible. And I think this is something that, as much as I still would say I don't like David Lynch after watching this film, but where I will give him credit for is that he does know how to create really sort of grotesque things. And I think you see that in Eraserhead, and I think you see that very, very briefly in Mulholland Drive. And in a weird way, I actually think it's almost a really big shame that I didn't see David Lynch make a out and out horror film. It's like he has horror elements in well, this film and Mulholland Drive. I don't know about the rest, but I think he could have been a really, really good horror film director. If he has made a horror film, by the way, then let me know because I would definitely try and watch that. But I think he's definitely shown real promise
He's more of like a
in
mystery
those
guy.
areas. Well, yeah, and this is the thing. So I think when you ask me what I think this film's about, I think this is going to sound really sort of basic and like a really obvious answer, but I think the film is really just about David Lynch's worldview. Because I think what you see in David Lynch's universe is a universe that just doesn't make any sense. Like he goes to his girlfriend's.
I don't think it makes sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Like you
it
can't
makes
tell me
sense
this
to
film
me.
makes sense. How right?
It makes sense to me. It makes
okay. How does it make sense in the sense that he's in one room at one moment, and then a different moment he disappears to another one? Then
that's
there's
how life is.
Really...
That's literally how life is. Literally a moment ago, I was talking to my boss. A moment before that, I was watching Eraserhead. A moment before that, I was in Waitrose. That's how it is.
You can explain that though. You can explain why you were talking to your boss at one point, then why you walked to Waitrose.
You can't explain the radiator.
No, but I can't right now, can I? And also, mentally speaking, you can't really okay. Think about this, or not think about this. I'm talking now. I was listening to this meditation guide to get to sleep a couple of days ago, and this lady was like, "Oh, well, well, just think about your start of your day, and then think about what happened in the next moment, and then try and rewind the entire day and live it again over and over." And I was trying to think about it as I woke up, and then I can't remember, and then I had breakfast, and then I can't remember, and then I had lunch, and then I can't remember, then I had dinner, and then I can't remember, and then I went to bed. You don't really remember a lot of those in between bits in terms of memory, or at least actively. Those sorts of things, unless you really try hard to think about them, are pretty much lost. All the important things stay, generally speaking, when you think on memory. When you think on memory, you think about human experience. Your entire human experience is built off of memory, right? So
yeah, but I can remember what I did today. Now I might not be able to remember the exact email queries that I answered.
Not every single thing,
but I know
not
that
immediately.
From particular hours I was working, and then I had lunch, and then I was
working.
But
if you were to think about your whole day in the next minute or two, you would probably get what, a 20th, really, of the actual memories of the whole day.
You get a macro view, yeah.
Maybe a 50th.
But the point being with this film,
my whole day.
No, you couldn't.
Absolutely,
not really. Not
absolutely, I could.
Not minute to minute. You could describe the whole day.
Well, that would take me a whole day to do, obviously.
But I can give you a summary. I can tell you what happened. I can tell you that I had lunch in the work cafeteria today. I also had lunch in the work cafeteria today.
But you don't really feel the full 11 hours of that.
But are you saying that this is what does this relate to the film? You're saying it's about memory and perception?
No. Ben was saying that it doesn't make any sense because of how things flash past each other.
I'm on Ben's side with this, so I think I do agree that it's about David Lynch's perception of life. So, for example, when he goes to visit the parents, when he goes to meet the girl's parents, it's such a heightened awkwardness. And it just made me think, this David Lynch guy doesn't do conversations very well, clearly, because it's the most insane. It's hilarious, and I think it's meant to be funny. And I think it is just
I laughed a few times. Just by how grim it was.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's really good.
When the dad, I can't remember what he says, but it's when the two women have left the room and the dad says some bullshit, and then he just stares at him
yeah,
for 2 minutes.
I think after everything's happened, I think.
Oh shit! Yeah. I'm not. I wasn't also denying
the
that
daughter says that she's pregnant, and he says dinner's getting cold. What the hell is this world?
He's like, you don't mind, do you, about getting married? Yeah. He's like, no, it's alright. Yeah, the chickens.
Yeah, and I was thinking, like,
Ben,
when the guy
are
says,
are the chickens meant to be having like periods or something here? Is this meant to be the symbolism? I just had no idea what was going
when the
on.
dad comes in and he's like, they've got chickens now, they're man-made, or something like that. It's so fucking funny.
That's a great scene.
And I
But
think you go.
what I wanted to quickly say was I agree with you, Ben. This is about David Lynch's perception of the reality that he lives in the world. I think as well, though, I always, when the dad is looking and he's just smiling like this, I feel like irrationally we have like some sort of heightened perception sometimes when we think back on things and when things are happening in the moment that stress us out. And I don't know, I can just really relate. Sometimes I feel like people are looking at me like that sometimes, and I don't know what to say because they're just being fucking weird. But I don't know if I'm being weird because who knows what's real.
I fully agree. I felt like I've had conversations like that,
Exactly,
like fully
yeah.
experiences like that, where I'm being that completely like inept at going with the flow of what's going on, and like we're just like headbutting socially, me and whoever I'm talking to. And it's just like a funny version of that, and like a surreal version of that. Also, yeah, I really like the world that it's set in, and then later on I learned that he just moved to Philadelphia and was previously from like a very rural area, and so was like getting used to the whole industrialized land of it, because it feels like a fucking post-apocalyptic nightmare of like factory work. Like, everything looks like a factory. There's like a constant like mechanical droning going on throughout the whole film. The whole pipes thing in that house as well is so funny. There's random pipes throughout the house, and he's like, I made every pipe in this city. It's so fucking good.
It's scary though.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's fucked. I did find a lot of it genuinely like confrontingly terrifying.
To my soul, it will definitely try and sever some grasps I previously had from what I thought was real. It is a scary film for sure. It's like, I think
my jaw was agape.
Because he's such a camera genius, man. He's just good at capturing such a crazy vibe, I think. And his shots are really good as well. There is a shot where it's meet the parents and he's at the dinner, nice normal dinner, and the shot pans to the mum and the daughter, and they're just framed really well, and I thought that was really good. And I think that might have been the moment, because I think the pair of them have this tick, we'll call it, where they just start freaking out every now and then.
Yeah, like the girlfriend behaved like a dog, because she was really scratching her knee, and then she starts to make dog noises, and then what was it? Her mum. Then
is that the one where he pulls
hairbrush?
aliens out of her vagina?
No, that's later.
Oh,
that does happen, Ben. They're in bed, and he keeps like pulling them out.
Oh yeah. Oh, so you thought they were aliens?
Well,
I don't know how else to immediately describe them.
I thought they were. I thought they were giant, enlarged, like to scale sperm.
Yeah, it's that. It's definitely like representative of that.
That's fucking disgusting
to me. Yeah, I mean they're sperm-like.
I just thought
big
that
head and a tail.
This is just like dream nonsense that David Lynch is doing now.
Well, I mean, it's that as well, but it's just the dream nonsense is just giant sperm.
Oh god, yeah, definitely.
Like
because remember when the girl's stamping on them at the stage, like it's just white stuff at the end of the day. Like, it was just so.
So you tell yourself.
Like, it was just such a weird experience, and I got how weird it was.
Yeah, exactly. That was
on.
The whole point of the film, though, right? The whole thing is
and it definitely achieved its objective.
Yeah,
it definitely achieved its objective by
love to meet him,
concretizing like through and through.
He's
David
really ill at
Lynch's
the moment, guys.
philosophy.
Oh no,
he apparently can't walk. Yeah, it's fucked up. Oh, wow. Yeah, we're not getting another movie, that's for sure. And he's probably gonna die soon. So shout out David Lynch.
What was his last one?
Whether Twin Peaks: The Return, I think, was the last thing he did. Or The House.
Yeah, I still haven't seen
not
Twin
The House
Peaks.
that Jack built. What did Jack do? Me and Haroon watched that at his house. It's a little short film where David Lynch interviews a monkey with David Lynch's mouth speaking as the monkey
David
about a
Lynch
murder.
interviews David Lynch, but David Lynch is a monkey, and David Lynch is not a monkey.
It's fantastic.
It's really good. Ben, I don't understand why you can't like this stuff. It's just like, I don't know.
So funny.
It's just hilarious. Yeah, it's very
I don't
funny.
mind weird because like I was saying, the first half hour is like 3/4 of an hour. I thought, yeah, this is really quirky, but you know what? I'm kind of I'm all for it. Like I'm here, I'm along for the ride, and I didn't find it.
So what lost you at the
off-putting.
end?
So the problem I had at the end, and I think the point at which I was pretty much completely lost was when, you know, when he's with the neighbor, and she comes into his room, and they start kissing, and then they're in the bed,
and then
but they
they're in
end
the
up
bath in the bed.
yeah, then they're in the bath in the bed, and they just go below, and at that point it just goes completely out the window, and at that point there really is no
Wasn't it already
like,
out the window?
the law
I
of
felt like
causality
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
I don't think it goes that
it was
much
never like
further
a
than
bit
it did.
quirky. It was always, this is the most insane thing I have ever seen in my life, and then the movie ends.
No, but in the
Yeah.
sense that like it still made sense in that Henry tries to leave, the baby then screams, so he stays behind. Like there's a sense in which the scene still makes
That's
sense.
so funny as well.
And yeah, but then at that point, like there's just no logical connection between anything at all. And then was it they then go to that place where they create pencils, and I don't even know what they make the pencil out of.
Eraserhead.
His head.
Oh yeah,
When his head falls
shit,
off
yeah.
when he goes in the radiator and then his head falls off and the little boy
Eraserhead.
finds
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
I
mean,
just love this film so much. I've always thought that, why can't you just do whatever the fuck you want to do in a movie and just make that and show me that? And he literally
I think if
just.
you want to see a case in point of that, David Lynch is your man, because he does just do whatever the hell he wants.
I really thoroughly like that.
Yeah, see, I'm not.
There's some like overlap here as well between me wanting to look around and explore the inner recesses of somebody's consciousness and following, in fact. And maybe I don't like what I find when I watch some more David Lynch films, but maybe with a good friend of mine, he might be able to engage that sort of mentality.
Yeah, can I go on a little rant for a minute here?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, go.
I'd like to know what you guys actually. Yeah, can you guys talk about what you took away from the meaning first before I basically give it away? Because I do think there is an answer. He denies it. He says that there's no one's ever come with the actual like meaning behind the film, but I think he's fucking lying. Because it's obvious, but it's also not obvious. Like
The magician never reveals his tricks.
Yeah,
I mean,
monk magic style.
Exactly.
I maintain what I said earlier. I think Henry is David Lynch, and the world of Eraserhead is essentially like the essential view that David Lynch has of the universe. I think he thinks it's unintelligible. You know, nothing makes sense, and yeah, Henry seems to be crippled by anxiety. And I think Lynch himself has actually said that he sees himself in Henry. So I think at least that half is.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Confirmed.
I think you got it absolutely right. I don't think it's any more than that. I mean, it probably is.
But what about like the baby?
I think that when you really think about it and you have a baby, that is a very crazy and insane thing to do, and it might as well be an alien to you, especially if it's your first kid.
Mm. Yeah, I mean,
I really respect that, Ben. I think you're right. That makes a lot of sense. I relate to it. I think definitely it's about his perception of the world and how alien the world can be a lot of the time if you don't really click with the place.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with you, and that's, as I was viewing it, I was like, trying to get some sort of takeaway from it, and I was on the same thing. Like, yeah, it feels like someone who doesn't know how to interact with people and how he perceives his interactions with people, and the vague fear of parenthood and the complete like change in life experience when you have a kid and whatnot. And I was trying to get other themes as well, like when he turns into the thing, when he turns
There is
into a little
capitalism
baby.
in here.
There's
Is.
arguably a bit, especially with
I don't
the.
think
I
there's
think the
any commentary on any
Eraserhead.
system. I think it is all just to do with the nature of the universe more than anything.
I don't know. I think when he gets turned into pencils, his literal head gets turned into pencils. I'd say maybe there's something there to do with like labor, being used to give other people profit. But I don't know. I wouldn't say it wasn't like my main take or anything. I don't think it's really in there. I mean, obviously the industrialization sort of ties into it, but
I thought it was very much in there.
I think industrialization definitely. I think when you mentioned that he comes from a rural area, and that would have been quite a shock for him going to somewhere as urbanized as Pennsylvania. Yeah, that definitely would have played a role. And am I right in saying that he wasn't a fan of moving away from a rural area to an urban one, given how anxious Henry is in his
I don't
environment?
know. I couldn't speak to it, but it's definitely like a shock to the system for sure. But yeah, so after I watched this, I just looked on Letterboxd and read some reviews of people, and one of them said just like one sentence that I was like, okay, this makes sense. So David Lynch around the time was going through a divorce, and he also had a daughter with clubbed feet, and so his daughter was born with deformities.
Wow,
and
that's
stuff.
fucked for him to have made this movie then.
A little bit. She's in the film, but it's like an extrapolation of the anxieties that you'd get dealing with that. I don't think it's like rude to her. I mean, he does kill the baby.
It feels like, now that you say
It's so
that,
deeply personal.
even more of a deeply personal autobiographical metaphor of how he's experiencing the world in the last few years when he was creating this.
Yeah, I don't think it's rude. Obviously, it'd be up to her to take it as rude.
You can do whatever you want.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I get it. You'd be scared if your child was born with like deformity.
Yeah, well, when that child grows up, put them in his shoes and yeah.
Well,
maybe not. Maybe she wouldn't fit in his shoes.
I was going to say
she's got clubbed feet.
No pun intended.
Nope.
Yes.
Maybe.
And we're back.
Oh fuck! There was more as well. Oh no, this is completely irrelevant. Yeah, he also this might make you hate him because it makes me feel weird about him. So he's apparently vegetarian and stuff. But he around this time went to a veterinary. Is that the word? A vet. Veterinary. And got a dead cat and dissected it. And would apparently do that kind of shit. And he's never ever told anyone how he made the baby puppet. And there's a lot of speculation as to whether it was like a real a lamb fetus is what people suspect it is. Or if it was just inspired by that. But when he cuts it open and there's all the guts, like
he is
it makes sense that he's done that. Yeah. But he's like a vegetarian. I think he's just he just doesn't care. I don't think he's like a psychopath murderer. I think he just isn't bothered by gross.
I was going to say, if he was killing cats, then I think that would be.
Yeah, no.
Bad.
The cat was dead.
But I mean, if he's dead, then.
Oh my god!
Yeah. But it's weird, man. It's weird. It's weird to want to cut up a dead cat.
I don't know. If the purpose in mind was to make that fucked up baby, then he did a pretty good job of it. I'm not gonna lie.
He did. It's really good looking. It looks insanely like real. I was blown away by it.
And I think
the way it moves.
And to be fair to Lynch, he has done well with special effects. And I've just realised. No, this isn't. I've seen 4 David Lynch films. The other film of his that I've seen is Dune from 1984, I think.
Oh right.
Which I oh god, that What do I hate more, that or Mulholland Drive? It's difficult to tell. I hate them both a lot. But one thing that I think he does deserve credit for with that film is that he does do good special effects, and that does seem to be something that he has been consistently good at. I've noticed, just like
I think
that
he was.
scene in Mulholland
He
Drive.
mentions in the interviews in the Criterion booklet that he was doing special. He was doing a snake for someone else's short film, like around the time that this started picking up. So he probably has a background in that, and I guess he
Yeah, and
made
he's
this
really good
puppet
at it, to be
without telling
fair.
anyone what the fuck it is. So, but yeah,
And
he's
like,
good.
I really wish he did more horror films because so you said, Haroon, this film will stay with you. I don't think the entire film will, but there are definitely certain shots, and there's that one shot at the opening that you constantly go back to every now and then. It's of um the figure that looks like a leper, and he's in the dark room and he's pulling the levers at the very
Mm.
beginning, and you see him later on. Like when I first saw that, I thought, oh god, like this actually, like if that was in a gothic horror film, like that would have fitted in so well. And I just
But
really
he's
wish
just
that
not
he
that
did
type of guy,
Quasimodo-esque.
actual
really.
horror.
He's not really that type of guy. I think his films are. This film was very, very personal, and I don't know if he's. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to watch more of his stuff in order to be able to make a guess as to whether or not
There's
he'd make for a good horror director.
there's always something that's one of the scariest things I've ever seen in his movies. And to be fair, I mean, I've only seen 3 of them, but I've seen clips from Lost Highway, and there's the one clip I've seen of the mystery man at the party. For anyone who's watching, who's seen it, that fucks with me. Go, like, if you guys want to go watch that after we've done, it's really deeply concerning as a concept. So I think he always puts it in there. I don't think it's his primary
What's the
like.
concept?
So it's a man at a party. I'll cut this out. But it's a man
No,
at
no,
a
no.
party, and some pale man comes up to him and he goes, "I was at your house last night," and the guy goes, "I've never met you," and he's like, "I'm there right now," and the man's like, "That's not you're here in front of me," and he's like, "Call me." So he calls his own house, and the man who he's talking to picks up the phone. And it's just fucked. Like, that's so fucked.
That's scary. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's horrifying. I like that a lot.
It's really good. So yeah, I don't know.
Horrible.
He's definitely, isn't it? I'm there right now.
Even though the guy is actually talking to him,
Yeah,
and he's not, and they're not at the guy's house.
Yeah. They're at someone else's house,
Hmm.
and he's in front of him and at his house answering his phone.
See, that just strikes me as more weird than scary. I mean, I'll need to see it.
I find
to
that
see if it actually-
scary. Would you
No,
not
but I think
shit
for me, I
your
just think-
pants?
I think I just think, what the fuck? Like, has this guy left a tape recorder or something where he's recorded his own voice?
It's like disturbing. I don't know. It's deeply disturbing because it's like unexplainable. I don't know if they explain it in the
Well,
movie.
what
My
do
understanding
you-
is that they don't.
What do you think of the scene in Mulholland Drive when they go round the diner?
Yeah, scary.
Because I
as
found
fuck.
that very scary. I
Well,
found
they go
that
around the corner.
scary as hell.
With
Yeah.
a jump scare.
Yeah.
Uh.
But it's not just a jump scare. It's like, I had this dream last night, and the guy's like, "Well, let's go," and then it happens.
Hmm.
Like that's like an
Oh.
extra element.
Yeah.
It's scary shit.
I think when he does like to detach from reality, and I think what's quite scary is that dissociative feeling that he quite often tends to provide in a lot of his films, especially I think in Eraserhead. Because I say dissociative because you can't just show really wacky, crazy shit and then dissociate, because you have to like move from reality into something else. Like you have to be shown reality and then shown something contorted from reality, and then eventually sort of phase your way out. I think that's what maybe David Batty was getting onto when we were talking about Nosferatu or something. Is that surrealism has to involve and incorporate some sort of element of reality in order to be able to truly like freak you out a bit. The uncanny valley, I suppose.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't remember too much about that.
Oh,
But,
I mean, you saying that has just reminded me of that scene in 2001. I can't remember how long it is, but it's when you just have those colors being
hmm,
shown on the screen for,
10
again, I can't
minutes.
remember how long. Is it 10 minutes?
It's like 7, I think. It's a long fucking scene.
So, so I
Isn't
remember
it like
because I think with that kind of thing,
Could be.
I just think like there is, yeah, you've got colors, but the fact that you've got, okay, how can I describe it? I think to get the essential of it, the fact that you've got attributes and you've actually got no entities they're attached to, that's what really takes me out of it. Whereas at least in Eraserhead, you at least have objects, you actually have things in the world. And even though they're behaving in ways that you just can't explain
But you
and
can still
different
attach to
things are
things. You
related to
can
each
still
other.
attach to some semblance of reality with regards to,
Right.
the few social dynamics that exist. For instance, literally meeting the parents of your girlfriend, the dad being a bit of a freak, the mum being a bit of a freak, you not really knowing what you're doing, having a child, not really knowing how to care for it, thinking it's sort of an alien. Like there is definitely real
Yeah.
world attachment there. But then
And that's the thing.
to have that and then layer over his perception of it is what I think maybe
I
creates that
I
dissociative
think
feeling.
the nightmare feeling of it is the best way to like frame it, where like it's all understandable situations, and when you think about the reality of it, um, you can make some sort of sense of it. But the fact that you are in a nightmare world and everything is an absurd representation of these real life feelings, that's where I don't know if I want to say like the fear, but that's just what makes it so
You're
compelling and
saying the exact
interesting.
same thing. You're just saying
Yeah,
the exact same thing. Yeah.
because
I
I
think it's
don't
funny that we
agree.
all pretty much agree on what the film means. Because usually
Mhm.
there's,
It's
well,
pretty
maybe not
simple,
usually.
It
I
is pretty
Yeah,
think.
simple.
exactly. Because I think a lot of people I've heard say, "Oh, David Lynch, he's really deep," and obviously I
This
haven't seen
is
all of
deep
his
though.
films.
I don't
It's
know if
deep
it's
in the
It's
deep.
sense that
there's
It's
so
it's
it's on
just
a
like
big scale, but I think a lot
grotesqueness
of
of
people
it.
talk about how his films are deep because they're so they're so unintelligible.
It's
But I think the
earnest.
fact that they're so unintelligible is actually, in a way, actually makes the meaning of the film more straightforward in the sense
I
that
agree with
you can look at it and
I
this.
think,
think I agree. I think I agree.
I'm
Yeah,
agreeing with this aggressively right now. We're doing good
it's
here.
it's like it's very absurd, but underneath it is a very simple and real and relatable story. So if you're taking it on face value, I can see why it's confusing. And something like Mulholland Drive is more confusing because that doesn't care about explaining why about anything. You do have to figure that one out more. This one you just feel though. You do feel the emotion and the social confusion of it all, um, despite it being so unreal.
but
Do
do
you
you
know what I
not
mean?
find with Mulholland Drive there's something quite similar? Because I mean, again, I saw it only once, and it was a number of years ago now. I think it might have been as long ago as like 2019. But the main thing I remember was that the two characters you follow the entire time, they're always in this state of like real paranoia. Like they have no idea what's going on, and
Mm-hmm.
nothing's ever resolved. Like I said, nothing's ever actually explained. I think while you might have a different skin to that film compared to Eraserhead, like they definitely look very different aesthetically. I think ultimately you have a pretty similar meaning to both of them. Now, from what I gather, I think apparently Mulholland Drive is
I don't
meant to
think
be
the
a critique
meaning's
on
similar.
Hollywood.
Mm,
Yeah,
I don't think the meaning's similar.
But would you say it is
but
quite similar in
I
the
sort
sense
of know
that
what you
nothing's
mean.
ever explained? It's a universe without any real concrete hard rules. The characters are always in this state of real
Yeah, but
anxiety.
I think Mulholland Drive is understandably more confusing because it's more plotty. This one doesn't have a plot. It's just a man has a baby that's weird, and then some shit happens. That's basically the plot. But Mulholland Drive is, if you describe the plot, it's not what you experience as the movie. Where like if you describe the plot, it's this woman moves to Hollywood. She has this fantasy. She meets this person. She has him killed, but that's not what's conveyed in the movie. What's conveyed in the movie is something entirely different, because it's sort of her fantasy woven into it. So I don't know, man. I do get what you're saying, though. It's when you think about it and when you understand it, it's simple. It's just getting to that understanding is, I'd say, a bit harder in Mulholland Drive than this one. But I do agree
Yeah,
that
that's
it's
interesting.
pretty it's pretty simple.
What about Blue Velvet? I get the weird moving away from Eraserhead, but I think it is interesting just to talk about David Lynch's filmography in general because Blue Velvet, I can't really remember much of what that film meant, but I have heard some people say that he's exposing a darker side to American suburbia.
Yeah, it's been a while since I watched that as well. I don't have a strong take on it. I just remember it being just like a plot. Like it just felt pretty normal. I didn't find that one confusing. But I'd have to rewatch it to like get the themes and whatnot because I
Yeah,
couldn't
and
come to my head
now
right
that we're
now.
talking about it, I really want to rewatch that film because I do
Hmm.
actually remember watching it and thinking, yeah, I enjoyed that. Like it was weird, but it was the right level of weird for me.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with
That
Mulholland Drive in
who's
this one,
the
it just
antagonist in that one? Who's the
oh, I
actor?
can't
He's so
remember,
funny.
but
He's having such a good time.
the protagonist is the Kevin McLaughlin character. Is that how you
Yeah.
pronounce it?
Is it Kevin? I
I
can't
think
remember.
it's Kevin. He was in Dune as well, and he's obviously
McLaughlin.
Twin
Yeah,
Peaks.
he's in How I Met Your Mother.
Yes.
It's not
Well,
Kevin.
when I saw him revealed
Uh,
with a friend of mine who, unlike me, has actually watched Twin Peaks, he was in hysterics. Like he was
Kyle.
so happy that he actually saw him. Oh, is it Kyle?
When
Nice.
How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
like he
great
pointed
in
out to
that.
him, he just said, "Oh my god!" His mouth was full of food.
This made me bear want to watch Twin Peaks. Me and Haroon watched the pilot one time at his house, and it's made me really want to get back into it. I might do that if my brother's not home. I might go downstairs and start Twin Peaks again.
It is tempting.
Um,
It's really good.
yeah, yeah. Oh fuck! I had something to say. Oh yeah, about the like Americana. I think all of his films are about like American culture. Um, And yeah, like I guess they're all about showing a dark side to it. I mean, again, I say this having seen three of them, but like this film, it's got a lot of like nuclear anxieties and stuff, which obviously come out of the '70s. It was very
Mm.
recent history for them. Again, Mulholland Drive is all about the Hollywood and fame and America's relationship to that. And Blue Velvet, I mean, I guess you said about the suburban lifestyle. Yeah, I
That's what I've
think
heard somebody
that's what
say,
he's
and they're
interested in.
referring to the famous shot when the camera, I think it shows you a lawn and it zooms in, and then I think
The
the closer
finger,
it zooms in, the more you realize
thumb,
you got these sort of, well, yeah,
oh,
like oh yeah, there's the thumb, then you got
oh,
these
you know, there's
ants
something
like
about something
cockroaches.
different. Okay, okay, okay.
No, it is you
Yeah,
got the thumb as well, because like on the surface it looks fine, but then you look at it and you just think, oh, that's actually pretty sinister.
for sure. Um, yeah, I found that interesting as well because in that book he was talking about how, or maybe this was other stuff I was looking at. Maybe it was the book. But he is heavily influenced by European cinema much more than American. So I find it cool that
Oh right, okay.
he takes the influence of that, but does still like apply it to his home and his understanding of things. Um, I just think it's cool. I think he's a cool little guy. Apart
That's
from all the
interesting.
cutting
I'll
up
give
of
that a
dead
full
animals.
read after this.
Yeah, yeah. I can't remember who he cites. But yeah, definitely some big names.
Should we do rankings?
Yes. Yeah. Unless anyone else has anything to say, I think that's all my notes done. Um,
I have nothing more to say.
yeah, that's literally it. Does anyone have any thoughts about the Radiator Woman? That also ties into like the Americana stuff. Like she's doing an old ditty. It reminded me a lot of in Mulholland Drive. The what's that thing called? Something bug, jitterbug. Is that right? I don't know. But the opening scene is like the old people doing the funny old style dance, and that woman's doing like a funny old style dance um, on a stage. I think it's all very
The opening of
American.
Mulholland Drive
Yeah, if I'm
or
not
Eraserhead?
mistaken. No, Mulholland
Oh, I
Drive.
can't remember. It's been too long.
It's been a while for me as well, but I think she's doing some. There's like some old people. I can't remember. I can't. I'll put it in if it's what I'm talking about is accurate. But it just reminded me of it. But yeah, I'm fine with doing ratings now. I'm fine with doing ratings now. If you want to give it a rating out of 10.
I just
Please
had a
go
look at
first.
the start of Mulholland Drive, and yeah, I remember that. It's the purple backdrop, and then everyone's just sort of dancing around being a freak.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think, yeah, again, like in Eraserhead, he ends up like going to some sort of heaven or dream or good
Mm-hmm.
dream or some sort of not real place.
Yeah.
And I think all of his movies are fucking surrealist. He's the surrealist director, isn't he? Like, period,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, what is it you're
Kafkaesque.
trying to ask? Like, why are we watching people dancing around in front of a
Yeah,
big
it
purple
just
screen at the
seems.
start of the movie? I don't know.
Not
We'll
no.
watch
I'm
what
talking
we
more about
watch.
the radiator woman in Eraserhead, not Mulholland Drive.
The
But I just think
Radiator
it
Woman.
ties. Yeah, you know when it keeps zooming into the radiator, and then there's a woman with a flat face doing a funny little dance on a stage and squashing the little
Oh, is that a
alien creatures.
radiator? Where's the
Oh,
Yeah,
do
radiator?
you mean the woman with the
it's always happens
like
in the
with the
radiator.
The
cheeks?
cheeks.
Yeah,
That was weird.
she lives in the radiator, guys. I don't know if you I don't know how you didn't pick up on this. She lives in the
I didn't
radiator.
clock that.
But I think
I didn't clock that at all.
But yeah,
I
I
didn't
think it's a
clock it.
metaphor for warmth, and that is his little heaven, and his escape. And
Right.
she squashes the
Oh,
sperms of the
yeah,
aliens.
she definitely does live in the radiator.
She absolutely does. And apparently,
And
he just
he's
added that in. That wasn't in the script. I can't remember. He says it in the book, the little booklet, the Criterion interview. He's just like, yeah, someone came up with that or something, and we just put that in.
Do you reckon I could get the Eraserhead haircut?
If you try, I'm sure you can technically.
It is such a crazily perfect vibe. I can't explain it. It's like immaculate. It's so
Yeah.
consistent. He just
I really need to go
is
piss.
such
I'm just going to go piss. Keep talking.
a go piss. Then fucking always pissing this guy. All right, are
How
we
many
gonna do
Lynch
rate?
films have you seen, Haroon?
I've watched. The thing is, I was quite silent there because I haven't. I've watched Twin Peaks, like the first episode with Matt, like you said, and I've probably gotten an hour and a bit into Mulholland Drive before something distracted me and I stopped watching it. So I can't really comment too much, but yeah, yeah. So 1.5. So I
Did
have a rate.
you like Twin Peaks, the first episode?
I thought it was really good. I thought it was really good. Um, Again, he just sort of does. He captures a small town vibe really well. I really like the time period of the 80s. I think it's a similar sort of thing to like Stranger Things. And I meant, I think I'm actually going to rewatch Stranger Things. I should do that. But
I
I
really
just
like
like
Stranger Things. I think
it's really
it's got a
good.
lot of shit because people say how what was it? It does the 80s. What's the word? It's like when they're pandering to people.
Nostalgia.
Nostalgia. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, they
So
are.
they're
It's
pandering to
nostalgia
It's
80s
pretty
based.
nostalgia. But
inconsistent.
I don't care though. It's good.
well, Stranger
I think the
Things.
first season's great. I think the second season has some duds, especially like that one episode where she goes off and meets the random people. That sucks. Season 3 is like pretty mid, but I really like season 4. So I think overall it's a decent
I
show.
I think apart from season 2, I think it gets better with every season. Like season 2, there was a dip, but I think 3 and 4 I thought were on fire, and I really
3
hope they
just
end it
didn't
well.
move me. But I think 4 was really good, and I am excited for season 5, except from the fact that Sean Levy is doing. He always does a few episodes, but do you know what is good? I'm blanking on his name now. The Shawshank Redemption director, Frank Darabont. He's
Oh
come
yeah.
out of retirement to do some episodes. I don't know if
Oh
he was fully
nice.
retired, but he hasn't done shit in years. He made the first season of The Walking Dead, which is a perfect season of television. And then they
No
fired him because they're
way.
fucking morons. And he made, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, The Mist. He's a good guy.
The Mist.
Or is it The
Yeah,
Fog?
because
I think it's The
It
Mist.
might be the fog.
I think it is the
No, John
Mist because
Carpenter did The
it's
Fog.
No.
they're all Stephen King adaptations, aren't they? Well, those three you
Yeah.
listed anyway.
Yeah.
I think we should move on to some ratings. I think we should put a numerical value on each of these pieces of art that have taken years and years to create, labored over by men and women for probably collectively decades long of their lives, and that could mean more to them than we could possibly understand. And we won't even bother to put a decimal place in.
No,
We're going to
no,
do
no, no.
no
1 to
absolute
10.
one to exactly integers.
I think it's funny
I'm
how
gonna
we
give
always insist on doing a rating at the end of the episode, and yet all of
a
us agree
bucket.
that ratings are just stupid.
It's
I think it just
terrible.
has to be done though.
It literally
Yeah,
has
but
to be
it's
done.
it's just
We're
so
we
dumb.
are
And I know you're
reviewers
both
on
going to get really
YouTube. We
annoyed by the
can't not
rating that
do
I give
this.
Eraserhead, and I'm probably going to be annoyed by the rating you give Following. But it just like
Yeah.
Well, this is the way.
I'm gonna.
Makes for a
Are we
good
gonna all
clip.
go round with our rating of following first? We'll go in a little cycle.
Okay,
I'll go
fine. Yeah.
first with that then. I'm gonna give following a 6.
you can give it lower if you want, Haroon.
I was about to give it a 7, but
Thing.
I'll do what. No, can I do what YMS does? I'll give it a 6, and it could be this. It could be a 7 the next time I watch it, but it's definitely not a 5.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with 8 out of 10 because I like that it was a small budget thing.
Nolan movie.
I like how he said cunt.
Gritty.
I really liked when he said cunt and.
Oh, it's black and white. There's only 2 characters. It's just so soulful. Fucking garbage.
It was good.
It's
It was
not,
good.
it's not garbage. It's not garbage.
Well done to Nolan. I think
It's not an A.
my
It's not an A. It's not.
my impressiveness, my impressedness,
You gave original
carries it a
Suspiria
bit.
an 8. No, it means it's not.
I think that I give them Suspiria more. Suspiria might be a 10, or I think it's at least a 9.
Original Suspiria.
Yeah, 8. No, yeah, it can get an 8, mate. It can get an 8. It was made for
All right, give it an
$6,000. It can have an 8.
That's all right. Fair enough. On to you, Ben.
You haven't given Eraserhead yet. Oh no, sorry, we're doing Following first. Yeah, Following. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I was really impressed. Debut film, decently acted, and like I said, really interesting to see where he's gone since this film's and comparing it with the first one, and just how much of his philosophy was there.
It's
from the
so
very beginning.
nuts that both of these are debut films. I cannot how.
Yeah,
How?
I think they're both really impressive considering their debut films, for sure.
Did you give it an 8, Ben?
8, yeah.
Yeah, but one is thoroughly more rich. Anyways, I'm going to give Eraserhead a 10 out of 10 because I would do that. I thought that it was really perfect and earnest and providing a cool tint onto, well, more than a tint over reality. It's very good and impressive and pretty cool to experience the inner workings of a fucked up man's mind.
I'm going to give Eraserhead a 10 out of 10. I will admit, there was moments where I was like a little bored, but not at all really enough to outweigh the intoxication and love that I have for this movie. It's awesome, it's perfect, it's amazing. Thanks, David Lynch.
Very impressive for a debut film. I also like the fact that I actually learned a fair bit about his worldview. I'll get to the score in a minute. Criterion Collection made it look pretty impeccable and really impressive practical effects. But as always, it did completely lose me at the end, and for that reason, I'm going to
Try
give it
not to
a
dissect
7
that
out
one.
of 10.
What out of 10? Sorry, you said the
7.
number. 7.
7 out of 10.
That's good.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I
I'm
thought you
fine
were going to
with
go
that.
for 4 for real.
Yeah,
That's
he
really
gives
good.
Nah,
Tech
I think in terms of how much I
Take that.
enjoyed it, it's probably similar to Memento.
I
But
think we're getting somewhere with you.
I think we are.
I actually
Like
I
I was
bet
saying,
you're
I
even
think-
shocked that you must be shocked that you're giving this a 7 out of 10.
But like I said, the reason why I gave it a 7 was because it does look very good, and there are some really impressive things about it. And I think something else I realised is that I quite like watching a film
Me too.
which at the end of it, I have a good understanding of what the director was trying to say, like of his worldview, of the thing he's trying to say. And in Eraserhead, I think he does do that pretty well, even if what he's saying is something that I do not agree with.
Like Christopher Nolan said about Ridley Scott's now deemed classic Gladiator 2, that it's not just about entertainment; it's all building to the theme.
There is no
Sir
theme in
Christopher
Gladiator
Nolan,
2.
I mean, and Dame
There
Emma
is-
Thomas.
There is no theme in Gladiator 2. There's just none.
Yes, there
I,
are.
I literally don't know what he's talking
there
about.
is.
It's a cheap
I said that in the
rip-off of the
previous
first
episode.
one. Then they tried to make it into the first one with the sun, but the characterization just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, I just think it's.
Can
a
you
cheap
two
knockoff.
jolt your heads back when I hit this? Oh, Matt, can you fall over it in 3 seconds? I'll start counting, okay? And that's what we thought of Eraserhead 3.
Whoa!
There you go, that'll be edited nicely. Bonk. Because it's an Eraserhead. Expelliarmus.
We do stunts in this podcast, so make sure you subscribe.
3, 2, 1. I'm trying to
What are you trying to do?
Eraserhead you both. It's an Eraserhead.
Bonk.
All right, that is it for this episode. We will be coming out with an episode where we cover our favorite films that came out in 2024. Hopefully in time for...
Wait, hang on. We're not done with our Nolan series, are we?
No, we're doing
No, we're
a
not,
bonus
but
episode.
we need- Yeah.
I'm kind of
To get
excited
that
to get
YouTube
on
algorithm, baby.
yeah, I'm
In
excited to get
fact,
off
should we
Nolan
stop
movies.
recording this, or should we then...
Yeah.
Or should we just
Bye,
stop recording this?
Bye.